What's up, YouTube? It is time to get into Nehemiah chapter 12. If you haven't already, go back and watch chapters 1 through 11 because this may not make any sense to you. And again, I am reading from the CSB version. Pretty much just giving a short recap of chapter 11. It was basically about the repopulation of Jerusalem. At this point, the city walls are already rebuilt. The law has been given. People are moving into the city. So it was talking about the repopulation. So we're going to go ahead and start with chapter 12. These are the priests and Levites who went up with Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and with Jeshua: Sariah, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Maluk, Hattush, Shechaniah, Rahum, Meremoth, Edo, Ginnathoi, Abijah, Mijamin, Madiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Joarib, Jediah, Salu, Amok, Hilkiah, Jediah. These were the heads of the priests and their relatives in the days of Jeshua. The Levites: Jeshua, Binnui, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Judah, and Mattaniah. He and his relatives were in charge of the songs of praise. Bakbukiah, Uni, and their relatives stood opposite them in the services. Jeshua fathered Joachim, Joachim fathered Eliashib, Eliashib fathered Joiada, Joiada fathered Jonathan, and Jonathan fathered Jaddua. In the days of Joachim, the heads of the priestly families were Moriah of Sariah, Hananiah of Jeremiah, Meshullam of Ezra, Jehonan of Amariah, Jonathan of Malachi, Joseph of Shebaniah, Adnah of Harim, Helkiah of Mera'oth, Zechariah of Edo, Meshullam of Gimmethon, Zikri of Abijah, Piltai of Moadiah of Miniamin, Shammua of Bilgah, Jehonathan of Shemaiah, Mattaniah of Joarib, Uzi of Jediah, Kalai of Salai, Eber of Amok, Hashabiah of Hilkiah, and Nathanael of Jediah. In the days of Eliashib, Joiada, Johanan, and Jaddua, the heads of the families of the Levites and the priests were recorded while Darius the Persian ruled. Levi's descendants, the family heads, were recorded in the book of historical events during the days of Johanan, son of Eliashib. The head of the Levites, Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Jeshua, son of Kadmiel, along with their relatives opposite them, gave praise and thanks division by division, as David the man of God had prescribed. This included Mattaniah, Bakbukiah, and Obadiah. Meshullam, Talmon, and Akub were gatekeepers who guarded the storerooms at the city gates. These served in the days of Joachim, son of Jeshua, son of Jozadak, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and Ezra the priest and the scribe. At the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sent for the Levites wherever they lived and brought them to Jerusalem to celebrate the joyous dedication with thanksgiving and singing, accompanied by cymbals, harps, and lyres. Sounds like they was having a party. The singers gathered from the region around Jerusalem, from the settlements of the Netophathites, from Beth Gilgal, and from the fields of Geba and Asmaveth, for they had built settlements for themselves around Jerusalem. After the priests and Levites had purified themselves, they purified the people, the city gates, and the wall. Then I brought the leaders of Judah up on top of the wall and appointed 2 large processions that gave thanks. One went to the right on the wall, toward the dung gate. Verse 32, Hoshea and half of the leaders of Judah followed along with Azariah, Ezra, Meshullam, Judah, Benjamin, Shemaiah, Jeremiah, and some of the priests' sons with trumpets, and Zechariah, son of Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micaiah, son of Zakur, son of Asaph, followed, as well as his relatives: Shemaiah, Azarel, Milalai, Gilalai, Ma'ai, Nethanel, Judah, and Hanani, with the musical instruments of David, the man of God. Ezra the scribe went in front of them. At the fountain gate, they climbed the steps of the city of David on the ascent of the wall and went above the house of David to the water gate on the east. The second Thanksgiving procession went to the left, and I followed it with half the people along the top of the wall, past the Tower of the Ovens to the broad wall, above the Ephraim gate, and by the old gate, the fish gate, the Tower of Hananel, and the Tower of the 100 to the sheep gate. They stopped at the gate of the guard. The 2 Thanksgiving processions stood in the house of God. So did I, and half of the officials accompanied me, as well as the priests: Eliakim, Maaseiah, Miniamin, Micaiah, Elioenai, Zechariah, and Hananiah with the trumpets, And Messiah, Shemaiah, Eleazar, Uzi, Jehohanan, Malchijah, Elam, and Ezer. Then the singers sang with Jezrahiah as the leader. On that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced because God had given them great joy. The women and children also celebrated, and Jerusalem's rejoicing was heard far away. On that same day, men were placed in charge of the rooms that housed the supplies, contributions, first fruits, and tents. The legally required portions for the priests and Levites were gathered from the village fields because Judah was grateful to the priests and Levites who were serving. They performed the service of their God and the service of purification along with the singers and gatekeepers, as David and his son Solomon had prescribed. For long ago, in the days of David and Asaph, there were heads of the singers and songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. So in the days of Zerubbabel and Nehemiah, all Israel contributed the daily portions for the singers and gatekeepers. They also set aside daily portions for the Levites, and the Levites set aside daily portions for Aaron's descendants. Let's go ahead and get right into the background. The priests and Levites were among the most important people who returned from the exile because they reestablished worship among the people. That's good to know. Of note is Joiada's son Jonathan, who married Sanballat's daughter, making the grandson of the high priest Eliashib the son-in-law of Sanballat. The marriage took place before the commitment was made in chapter 11 and may explain why Sanballat was able to gain access to the people and spread rumors during the construction of the wall. Context. Nehemiah also reestablished the temple service in the manner organized by David and Solomon for the first temple. This represents the crescendo in the restoration of Israel. The temple and wall have been secured. God's word stood once again as Israel's authority, and temple worship was reinstituted. The people demonstrated their commitment to their vow by bringing their tithes or tenths to the storehouse for the Levites. So I just wanted to stop at that portion of reading that. That's the end anyway. But it's just interesting that a lot of people say that tithing is not biblical, but I'm showing right here, it says the people demonstrated their commitment to their vow by bringing their tithes to the storehouses for the Levites. So in some way, shape, or form, tithes was something that was definitely done in the Bible. I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people say that tithing isn't biblical. But what did I just read? At the end of it all, I do feel like chapter 12 is a very important piece to this chapter because it definitely highlights how God's word stood again and that temple worship was reinstituted and brought back to Jerusalem. This is really big. It may seem like, okay, what's the point of this? I don't understand why I'm reading this, but sometimes you got to just put pieces together and put things together and remember why Nehemiah started out on this journey in the first place. Why was he so heartbroken in chapter 1? What really happened?